The night I chose that beautiful dress, I had no idea it would become the dividing line between the woman I was and the woman I would have to become. If you've ever walked out of your house feeling admired, confident, almost unstoppable, only to sense, deep down, that something fragile was being left behind, then you'll understand why my hands were already shaking before the club lights ever touched my skin. I remember standing in front of the mirror longer than usual, smoothing the fabric over my hips, turning sideways, then back again. The dress wasn't cheap, and it wasn't innocent either. It was the kind of dress that asked to be noticed. My friend Lena kept sending voice notes, hyping me up, telling me I deserved a night out, that I had been too married lately, too tired, too quiet. My husband, Adil, was sitting on the edge of the bed scrolling through his phone, barely looking up when I told him I was heading out. He smiled, that familiar gentle smile, and said, "Be safe. Call me when you're coming back." No suspicion, no arguments, just trust. That should have stopped me. It didn't. The club was loud, alive, soaked in flashing lights and bass that made your heart forget its responsibilities. Lena and I laughed like we were younger, like we didn't have bills, routines, and half-finished conversations waiting at home. People looked. Compliments came easily. For a few hours, I wasn't a wife who reheated dinner or folded laundry at midnight. I was just a woman in a beautiful dress, remembered by strangers for a few fleeting seconds. And yet, between songs, between sips of my drink, I kept checking my phone. No messages, no missed calls. Adil never hovered, he never chased. That quiet trust followed me like a shadow I couldn't shake. When the night finally ended, the adrenaline wore off fast. In the ride home, my reflection in the car window looked different, tired, smudged, unsure. I rehearsed normal lines in my head. It was fun. I'm exhausted. The music was too loud. But as I unlocked the door and stepped inside, the silence felt heavier than the club noise ever did. The lights were on. My heart started racing. Something was wrong. And then I saw him. My husband was sitting on the living room floor, surrounded by old photo albums, papers, and a small open suitcase. For a split second, I thought he was packing to leave. My chest tightened so hard I could barely breathe. He looked up at me, his eyes red but calm, and said my name in a voice I didn't recognize. That was the moment I knew, whatever was about to happen had nothing to do with the dress, the club, or the night out. It was bigger, and it was going to change everything. He asked me to sit. I didn't even take my heels off. My legs felt weak, like I might collapse if I moved too fast. He held up an old photograph, as, years ago, laughing on a cheap couch, eating takeout, dreaming out loud about a future that felt endless back then. "Do you remember who you were here?" he asked softly. I nodded, but my throat wouldn't let any sound out. He told me he wasn't angry. That scared me more than shouting ever could. He said he had been feeling invisible for a long time, like he was watching me drift further away while he stayed still, hoping I'd eventually turn back. He talked about the nights I came home late, the conversations I cut short, the way my eyes no longer lit up when I saw him walk into a room. I wanted to defend myself, to explain how life gets heavy, how people change. But deep down, I knew he wasn't accusing me of cheating or lying. He was mourning something we were slowly losing. Then he said the words I wasn't ready to hear. "Tonight, when you walked out in that dress, I realized I've been afraid to speak up because I didn't want to lose you. But staying silent is losing you anyway." My chest burned. Tears spilled before I could stop them. I told him the truth. Not about some secret betrayal, but about how empty I had been feeling, how I missed feeling seen, how the club felt like proof that I still existed beyond routines and roles. We weren't enemies in that moment. We were two tired people finally admitting the same loneliness from opposite sides. He closed the suitcase. It wasn't packed with clothes. It was filled with old letters, half-written notes, and a journal he had been keeping, thoughts he never knew how to say out loud. He said he wasn't leaving. He said he was staying, but only if we both chose to stop running in different directions. We sat on the floor until sunrise, talking, crying, listening. It wasn't magical or easy. It was raw, uncomfortable, honest, and for the first time in years, real. If you think this is where everything suddenly became perfect, it didn't. Healing never works like that. But something shifted that night. I realized the confidence I chased in crowded rooms was something I had neglected to nurture at home, within myself, within us. And he realized love doesn't survive on patience alone, it needs courage too. Weeks passed. We started again in small ways. Walks without phones. Dinners without distractions. Hard conversations we used to avoid. I still wore beautiful dresses sometimes. I still went out with friends. But I stopped running from the quiet truths waiting for me when I came back home. And he stopped swallowing his fears just to keep the peace. The night I went to that club could have been the beginning of an ending. Instead, it became the moment we finally faced what we were becoming, and chose differently. Because sometimes, the real danger isn't going out into the world to feel alive. It's coming home and pretending you didn't leave parts of yourself behind.